Captain Hun stood on the bridge of the human vessel, indomitable, watching the massive structure grow larger on the view screen. Aurora 7 was the biggest space station he had ever seen. It looked like a silver wheel spinning slowly against the darkness of space. This was where the Galactic Council met, and today was humanity's first official visit. "We're being hailed, Captain," said Lieutenant Minu from the communication station. His voice was calm, but Hune could see the excitement in the young officer's eyes. This was history happening right now. "Put them through," Hyan ordered, a voice filled the bridge, speaking in perfect English. Through the translation system, "Human vessel Indomitable, you are cleared for docking bay 17. Welcome to the Galactic Council." Huen allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had worked for decades to reach this moment. First contact had happened 12 years ago, but the Council moved slowly. They wanted to study humans, test them, watch them. Now, finally, Earth was being invited to join the galactic community. Beside him, diplomat Sora adjusted her formal uniform. She was the head of Earth's diplomatic team, chosen because she could keep calm under pressure. Sora had negotiated trade deals that saved millions of lives during the food crisis. Now she would negotiate for the entire planet. Nervous, Hun asked quietly. Sora shook her head, excited. "Do you know how many species are in the council?" 47 last count. 47 different civilizations, Captain. 47 chances to learn something new. She smiled. "Though I hear some of them are not very friendly." Indomitable glided into the docking bay with practiced ease. Through the windows, Hun could see other ships. Some looked like crystals, others like living creatures. One appeared to be made entirely of light. The diversity was stunning. The docking process took 20 minutes. Then Hun, Sora, and 6 other humans walked through the airlock and into Arcturus 7. The interior was vast. The ceiling stretched up so high that clouds floated near the top. Beings of every imaginable shape moved through the corridors. A creature that looked like walking water passed by. Something with 12 legs and crystal skin clicked past them. A floating sphere of energy hummed as it drifted overhead. "Stay together," Sora reminded the team. "And remember, we represent all of humanity today." A guide approached them. It was tall and thin, with blue skin and forearms. "Greetings, humans. I am Guide Talvin. Please follow me to the assembly hall. The welcome ceremony will begin soon." They walked through corridors filled with wonders. Hyan saw gardens growing plants that glowed in the dark. They passed rooms where gravity seemed to work sideways. Music that sounded like starlight filled some areas. Finally, they reached the assembly hall. It was circular and enormous. 47 platforms ringed the room, each one holding representatives from a different species. In the center was an open space where visitors could stand. "Humans, please take the center," Talvin said. "Each species will present themselves to you, and you will present yourselves to them." Yun and Sora walked to the center while the rest of the team waited at the entrance. Thousands of alien eyes watched them. The room fell silent. A voice boomed from everywhere and nowhere. "Let the ceremony of meeting begin." One by one, species introduced themselves. The Valkyrie were small and covered in silver fur. The Orthani looked like living stone. The Kelton had wings of pure energy. Each species told their name, their home world, and Something about their culture, then. Something strange happened. Each species began showing holograms. Hun watched as the Valkyrie displayed an image of a beautiful creature with kind eyes and gentle hands. This is Anana, our goddess of tactical wisdom, the Valkyrie. Speaker said, she teaches us when to fight and when to preserve life. Orthani showed a massive warrior made of stone and fire, Orthos the unbreakable. Our god of honorable combat, he demands. We fight with courage and respect. Species after species showed their war. Deities, gods and goddesses of battle. Strategy, conquest, and defense, some looked terrifying, others looked noble. All were clearly important to their people. Hun began to feel uncomfortable. He glanced at Sara, who looked equally worried. Finally, after all 47 species had presented their divine patrons, the booming voice spoke again. Humans, you may now present your war deity to the council. Silence filled the massive hall. Sara stepped forward, her voice carrying clearly through the space. The human delegation thanks the council for this warm welcome. We have learned much today about your cultures and beliefs, but surely interrupted a voice from one of the platforms. You must show us your war deity. How else can we understand humanity's approach to conflict? The speaker was an insectoid being with multiple eyes and sharp mandibles, according to Hun's information display. This was Calvin, representative of the hive worlds. Sora took a breath. Humanity does not currently worship a war deity. The reaction was immediate. Gasps and clicking sounds and musical notes of surprise echoed through the hall. Beings turned to each other, their confusion obvious even across the barriers of species. Calvin's mandibles clicked rapidly. That is unusual. Forgive my confusion, but every warrior species we know has divine guidance in matters of war. You have ships, weapons, armies. You have fought wars on your own planet. How can you do this without a god to guide you? Hyun saw several other council members nodding or making equivalent gestures of agreement. This was clearly not the answer they expected. Sara remained calm, though Hyun could see her hands clasped tightly behind her back. It is true that humanity has extensive military history. We have fought many wars, but we do this through our own decisions, our own strategies, our own will. But you must have had a war deity at some point, insisted another voice. This came from a floating crystalline being. Surely your species evolved with divine guidance like all others. Sora looked at Hyun. In that glance they shared a moment of understanding. The truth was going to come out eventually. Better to be honest now. We did have war deity once, Sara said carefully. Long time ago. The hall went completely silent. Every being leaned forward, waiting. What happened to it? Calvin asked. Did it abandon you? Sara's voice was steady and clear. No, we don't worship our war deity anymore because we chose not to. Calvin sounded shocked. But divine beings do not simply disappear because mortals choose. Ours did, Hyun said, stepping forward to stand beside Sara. We had one once, we don't anymore. The silence that followed was deafening. Hyun could feel the weight of thousands of alien eyes on him, trying to understand what he had just said. Finally, Calvin spoke again, his voice quieter now, almost fearful. What could possibly make a species abandon their war deity? Sara and Hyun exchanged another look. This conversation was far from over, but it had started now. There was no going back. That, Sora said softly, is a longer story, and perhaps one that requires more than just words to explain. 3 days after the ceremony, everything changed. The human delegation was still settling into their quarters on Arcturus 7 when the alarm sounded. Pirates had attacked a council trade convoy near the station. The council's defense fleet responded quickly, but they asked for any nearby ships to help. Captain Hun didn't hesitate. All crew to battle. Stations were going in. Indomitable launched from the station, along with 5 council warships. Pirates had 3 vessels, smaller but fast. They had already damaged 2 freighters and were trying to steal their cargo. The battle was brief but intense. The human ship moved differently than the council vessels, while the others approached in formation, announcing their presence and demanding surrender. The Indomitable went straight for the pirate command ship. Jang gave clear orders: target their engines first, then weapons, then life support if they don't stop. The fight lasted 11 minutes. The human crew worked with practiced efficiency. No wasted movements, no hesitation. When the pirates tried to use the freighters as shields, Hyan simply adjusted tactics. He maneuvered the Indomitable into a position where the pirates had to choose between fleeing or fighting. They chose to flee. One of their ships didn't make it out before its engines died. When the Indomitable returned to Arcturus 7, a medical team was waiting. But not for humans. The council wanted to examine the captured pirates who were injured but alive. Dr. Yuna was in the medical bay when the council's head physician arrived. Physician Telmos was a tall being with green skin and 3 eyes. He looked at the injured pirates, then at the medical reports, then at Yuna. The human ship's weapons were very precise. Telmo said slowly, you disabled them without killing them, but the damage was extensive, painful. I would think. Yuna nodded. The captain ordered minimal casualties. That's what he delivered, but your combat footage. Telmos pulled up a holographic display. I have watched it 17 times now. The way your crew fought, there was no mercy in those actions, no hesitation. You hunted those pirates like soldiers. Yuna finished for him. Yes, that's how humans fight. Telmos's 3 eyes blinked in sequence, but the other council ships, they gave warnings. They tried to negotiate even during battle. Your ship just attacked. We gave one warning, Yuna pointed out. They ignored it. After that, we did what was necessary to stop them. Over the next few days, the incident became a major topic among the council. Representatives from different species came to speak with the human delegation. They were polite but worried. Finally, 5 days after the pirate battle, diplomat Sora received a formal request. The council wanted a meeting to discuss human military philosophy. They're scared of us, said Lieutenant Minyu, reading through the diplomatic messages. Half these requests are basically asking if we're safe to have around. Sora sighed. She sat in her quarters with Minyu and Dr. Yuna, reviewing the situation. Can you blame them? We show up, they ask about our war deity. We give a mysterious answer, then we fight pirates like we're hunting prey. Of course they're worried. Maybe we should just tell them the truth, Yuna suggested, about what happened with our deity. Truth might scare them more, Minyu warned, or it might help them understand us, Yuna countered. She was a xenoanthropologist, someone who studied alien cultures, but now she found herself needing to explain human culture to aliens. I've been reviewing their religious texts. Every species in the council has gods or spirits or divine beings that guide their warfare. These deities teach them rules, rituals, honor codes. War for them is a sacred act. Sora leaned back in her chair. And for humans, war is just war. We don't make it sacred, we make it efficient. A knock interrupted them. Jiho entered the room. He was a military historian brought along specifically to help explain human military development to aliens. You called for me. We need to prepare a presentation. Sora said the council wants to understand humanity's approach to war. That means we need to explain our history, all of it. Jay sat down heavily, including the deity, especially the deity. For the next 3 days, Yuna and Jiho worked together. They dug through Earth's databases, pulling up ancient texts, historical records, archaeological data. The story they pieced together was not simple. Look at this, Jiho said, showing Yuna a file on his tablet. This is from ancient Earth. About 3,000 years ago, different human cultures had different war deities. Mars, Ares, Bona, Tyr, segment dozens of them, but they all taught similar things. Yuna noted, reading through the texts: honor in battle, respect for enemies, rules of warfare. They were violent gods, yes, but they had limits. Keep reading, Jiho said quietly. Yuna continued through the timeline. She saw how human warfare changed. Bronze Age battles where armies faced each other. Formation, medieval wars with codes of chivalry, samurai with their strict honor systems. Then she reached the 20th century. Oh, she said softly. Yeah. Jiho agreed. That's when everything changed. The texts from that era told a dark story. World War I. Millions dead, cities burned, weapons that could destroy entire populations in seconds. War stopped being about honor or glory. It became about survival. There are records here, Yuna said, her voice shaking slightly, of human religious leaders from every culture meeting together during the Second World War. They tried to invoke their war deities, asking for guidance, and the deities answered. Jiho said, sort of. According to these old texts, something appeared to world leaders in 1945 after the atomic bombs were dropped. Different people described it differently, but they all said the same thing. Presence of being divine. What did it say? It begged humans to stop. It said we had gone too far. That war should have rules on her mercy. It wanted us to go back to older ways of fighting. Yuna scrolled through more documents. She found testimonies from military leaders, priests, historians, all describing the same event from different perspectives. The deity told us we were fighting wrong. She summarized that we needed to show mercy, limit civilian casualties, fight with honor and humanity's response. Yuna found the document. It was dated 1946, just 1 year after the atomic bombs fell. It was signed by representatives from dozens of countries, hundreds of religious groups, thousands of military leaders. She read it aloud. We acknowledge that war is not glorious, it is not honorable, it is survival. We will not limit our survival for the comfort of gods who have never had to face extinction. Jiho pulled up another file. After that declaration, every human culture performed ceremonies, different ceremonies, but all with the same purpose. They severed their connection to their war deities. They stopped worshiping them, stopped making offerings, stopped praying for victory, and without worship the deities faded. Yuna whispered, according to these records, yes, gods need belief to exist. When humanity collectively decided we didn't need a war deity anymore, it simply stopped existing. They sat in silence for a moment, both staring at the historical documents. The weight of what their ancestors had done settled over them. The council needs to know this, Yuna finally said. They need to understand that humans didn't abandon our deity because we're cruel or evil. We abandoned it because it couldn't understand what survival costs. G. Finished. 2 days later, Scholar Telmos requested a meeting with the human delegation. He was a Quellian, a species that looked like walking coral covered in glowing spots. His people were known for being curious and scholarly. Sora, Yuna, and Jiho met him in a conference room overlooking the stars. I have been reviewing your combat footage, Telmos began without preamble. Not just from the pirate incident, but from your ship's training exercises. The way your crew fights is fundamentally different from every other species in the council. Different how? Sora asked. Telmos created a holographic display. It showed footage from various battles. When the Velari fight, they pray before each engagement. When the Orthani battle, they announce their names and challenge enemies to single combat. When my people defend our worlds, we perform rituals to honor the spirits of those we must harm. He pulled up footage of the Indomitable fighting the pirates. Your crew does none of this. You identify targets, you eliminate them, you move to the next target. It is efficient. It is effective, but it is also terrifying. We're not trying to be terrifying, Yuna said carefully. We're trying to be good at what we do. That is what terrifies me, Telmos admitted. You are very good at violence, too good perhaps, which brings me to my question, the question the entire council is asking. Where did humanity learn to fight like this? What deity taught you such brutal efficiency? Sora looked at Yuna and Jiho. They had prepared for this moment. We can answer that question, Sora said, but it requires us to share some difficult history. Are you sure you want to know? Telmo's glowing spots pulsed rapidly. Sign of intense interest. The council demands to know. We cannot accept a species into our community without understanding their relationship with warfare. So yes, please tell me about your war deity. Yuna pulled out her tablet and set it on the table. We've prepared a complete presentation on humanity's theological military history. It will take about 2 hours to go through all of it. When would the council like us to present? The Grand Assembly Hall was packed. Every platform held not just representatives but additional observers. Species from across the galaxy had come to hear the human explanation. The circular room hummed with conversation in 1,000 different languages. Dr. Yuna stood in the center of the hall, a small holographic projector in her hand. Beside her stood Jiho, carrying the historical database. Diplomat Sora sat in the human observation area, ready to handle any political fallout. Captain Hun watched from the entrance, his hand resting on his sidearm. Just in case, the booming voice that controlled the assembly hall spoke. The emergency session is now in order. The human delegation will present their historical testimony regarding their species relationship with warfare, and divinity, all members will listen without interruption until the presentation is complete. Yuna took a deep breath and activated the projector. A massive holographic image appeared. Above the center of the hall, it showed ancient Earth, green and blue and beautiful. The assembled aliens watched with interest. This is humanity's home world as it appeared 5,000 years ago. Yuna began, her voice carried clearly through the hall. At this time, humans were divided into thousands of different cultures. We fought each other frequently. We had not yet unified as a species. The image changed, showing ancient warriors in bronze armor. Like all species, humans developed gods to help us understand the world. We created deities for the sun, the moon, the harvest, the sea, and we created deities for war. Images of different war gods appeared. Mars with his spear, Ares with his chariot, Bellona with her sword. Deities from dozens of cultures, all fierce, all powerful. These gods taught us how to fight. Yuna continued. They gave us rules for warfare, honor codes, rituals. They told us that war should be glorious, that warriors should be brave, that enemies should be respected. Ji stepped forward, taking over the narration. For thousands of years, humans followed these teachings. We fought according to rules. We had formal declarations of war. We met in battlefields at agreed times. Warriors announced their names before fighting. Defeated enemies were shown mercy. The hologram showed scenes of ancient battles, Greek phalanxes, Roman legions, medieval knights, samurai in armor, all fighting with ritual and ceremony. Our war deity over time merged from many different gods into one concept. G explained. We called it different names in different languages, but it represented the same idea. War should have honor, violence should have purpose, killing should have meaning. Several council members nodded or made gestures of approval. This matched their own understanding of divine warfare. But then Jiho said, his voice dropping. Everything changed. The hologram shifted. The images became darker. Trenches filled with mud and death. Cities burning, soldiers in gas masks advancing through poisoned air. The year 1914 by human calendar. Jiho said the Great War, the first truly industrial conflict. Millions of humans died in just 4 years. We used poison gas, machine guns, artillery that could destroy entire armies from miles away. War stopped being about individual warriors fighting with honor. It became about nations trying to destroy each other completely. The assembled aliens watched in horrified silence as the hologram showed mass graves, ruined cities, soldiers with terrible injuries. This was just the beginning, Yuna said softly. 21 years later, an even larger war began. World War II. This time 60 million humans died. We bombed civilian cities. We created weapons specifically designed to kill as many people as possible. We built camps where we murdered millions of innocent people. The images showed the full horror of human warfare. The council members who had eyes turned away, those without eyes still showed signs of distress. It was during this second Great War, G continued, that humanity created the ultimate weapon. We split the atom itself and turned it into a bomb. The hologram showed a mushroom cloud rising over a city. The devastating power of the atomic explosion filled the hall with light. In an instant, 100,000 humans died, Jiho said. A single bomb destroyed an entire city. 3 days later, we dropped another one, another city. Gone. And suddenly humanity had the power to end all life on our planet. Hologram paused on an image of the devastated cities, complete destruction. As far as the eye could see, according to historical records, Yuna said, her voice steady despite the dark subject. Our war deity appeared during this time. It manifested to human leaders across the world. Different cultures described it differently, but the message was the same. A new image appeared, something divine and terrible formed from light and shadow, not quite any of the old war gods, but somehow all of them. The deity looked at what we had done to each other, the gas chambers, the fire-bombed cities, the atomic weapons, and it spoke to us. It said we had gone too far, that war should never be like this, that we needed to return to older, more honorable ways of fighting. Jiho pulled up ancient text documents, projecting them large enough for the entire hall to read. These are testimonies from military leaders, priests, government officials, all describing the same encounter. The deity begged us to stop, to remember honor, to show mercy, to limit our violence. It wanted us to fight like we used to fight, Yuna added. One army against another army, warriors against warriors, with rules, with rituals, with respect for the defeated. She paused, letting the weight of that sink in, and humanity said no. Silence in the hall was absolute. Even the translation system seemed to hold their breath. We understood what the deity was asking. Yuna continued. It wanted us to be gentler, to accept limitations on how we fought, to make war sacred again, with all the rules and restrictions that sacred things carry. But we had just survived 2 wars that killed nearly 100 million of us. G said we had fought enemies who would have exterminated our entire species if given the chance. We learned that survival is more important than honor. Victory is more important than glory. Staying alive is more important than following rules. The hologram changed. Again, this time it showed a massive gathering, humans from every nation, every culture, every religion, all assembled together. In the year 1946, Yuna said, humanity held a ceremony. Every culture participated, every nation sent representatives, every religion contributed. It was the most unified humanity had ever been, and we performed. Adasai, Jiho stated flatly. Gasps and sounds of shock echoed through the assembly hall. Some species recoiled, others leaned forward in disbelief. The hologram showed the ceremony, temples being closed, altars being destroyed, sacred weapons being melted down, religious leaders from thousands of traditions all speaking the same words of renunciation. We told our war deity that we no longer needed it, Yuna explained. We thanked it for the lessons of the past, but we refused to follow its teachings anymore. We declared that war is not sacred, it is not glorious, it is simply something we do when we must. The deity spoke one final time, Jiho said. He pulled up the last recorded testimony spoken by multiple witnesses across the world. It said, you have become what even gods fear to be. The hologram showed the deity fading, becoming transparent, dissolving into nothing. Without worship, without belief, the deity died. Yuna said, gods need mortals to give them power. When all of humanity simultaneously stopped believing in a War deity, it simply ceased to exist. She turned slowly, looking at each platform of the council. That is why humans fight the way we do. We have no God to tell us to show mercy, no divine being to remind us of honor, no sacred rules to limit our violence. We fight to win, we fight to survive, nothing more, nothing less. The hall erupted. Every species seemed to be talking at once. Some sounded horrified. Others sounded angry. A few sounded impressed, though. Even they seemed disturbed. Calvin, the insectoid representative, raised his limbs for attention. The hall slowly quieted. You killed your own god, he said slowly, as if testing the words. Not because it was evil, not because it commanded evil things, but because it wanted you to be unkinder. It wanted us to be bound by rules that would have gotten us exterminated. Jeho corrected. If we had fought with honor against enemies who fought without honor, we would have lost. Our species would be extinct. But surely, said a representative from the Quellian platform, surely you could have found a balance, kept some divine guidance while adapting to modern warfare. Una shook her head. Our deity was absolute. It demanded honor or nothing. When we proved we would choose survival over honor, it rejected us, and we rejected it. In return, what kind of species kills its own god? Someone shouted from one of the upper platforms. A species that refuses to die for the comfort of divine beings. Sora called out from the human area. She stood, drawing attention to herself. Our ancestors faced a choice: follow divine law and possibly go extinct, or break divine law and survive. They chose survival. Every parent would make the same choice to protect their children. A Valkyrie representative spoke up, her voice gentle but concerned. But without divine guidance, how do you know when to stop? How do you prevent war from consuming you completely? We decide for ourselves, Hyan said, stepping into the center of the hall to stand with Una and Jeho. We make rules. We follow them when we can. We break them when we must. The emergency council session ended in chaos. Representatives argued. Some called for humanity to be rejected. Others demanded more time to study the implications. A few, very few, seemed impressed by human honesty. Diplomat Sara returned to the human quarters. Exhausted, Captain Hun was already there, reviewing security protocols. Dr. Una sat in the corner staring at her hands. That went well, Hyan said dryly. Half the council thinks we're dangerous, Sora replied. The other half thinks we're insane. I'm not sure which is worse. Una looked up. They're afraid of us, that much is clear. The question is whether they'll try to work with that fear or against it. A knock on the door interrupted them. Lieutenant Minyu entered, his face tight with concern. Captain, we have a situation. Our communications array intercepted some encrypted transmissions between council members. How encrypted? Han asked. Military grade. I shouldn't have been able to break it, but human encryption software is apparently more advanced than theirs. Minyu pulled up a data pad. 3 species are talking about us: the Kellans, the Rixen, and the Talmir Collective. They're planning something. Sora took the data pad and read through the decoded messages. Her expression darkened. They're going to test us. Test us how? Una asked. They think our deicide story is propaganda. Yan read over Sora's shoulder. They believe no species would actually kill their own god. They think we're lying to make ourselves seem more dangerous than We are, so they want to see how dangerous we really are. Mean you finished. They're planning a military exercise. Except they're not going to tell us it's an exercise. Sora stood up and began pacing. This is a disaster. If they attack us and we respond with full force, we prove that we're the monsters they fear. If we don't respond with full force and get destroyed, humanity loses its only ship in Council space. When is this test supposed to happen? Yuna asked. Mean you check the timestamps. Based on ship movements, probably within the next 48 hours, they're moving vessels into position near the border of Council space. Huan moved to the communications console. I need to speak with Admiral Taeyang back on Earth. This situation requires higher authority than a ship captain. The communication took 3 hours to establish, accounting for the distance and relay points. Admiral Taeyang appeared on the screen, his weathered face serious as he listened to Hyan's report. So the Council wants to see if we're really as dangerous as we claim, Taeyang said when Hun finished. And they're going to stage what looks like a real attack to test us. Yes, sir. What are your orders? Taeyang was quiet for a long moment. Captain Hun, what do you think humanity should do? The question caught Hyan off guard. Sir, you're there, you've seen how they look at us, you've heard their concerns. You told them we killed our god because he was too soft. Now they want to know if that story is true, so I'm asking you, as the man on the ground, what should we do? Hyan looked at Sora and Yuna. Both nodded, giving him silent support. I think we should show them exactly what we are, sir. Not monsters, not angels. Just humans. We give them one warning. Just one. If they attack after that warning, we defend ourselves with maximum efficiency. We don't try to kill them, but we don't hold back either. We show them that humans mean what we say. And if that scares them into rejecting our council membership, then we're no worse off than we are now, sir. But at least they'll know the truth. No more tests, no more doubts. They'll know exactly what humans are capable of. Taeyang smiled grimly. Very well. Captain, you have authorization to defend your ship with any means necessary, but remember, we want allies, not enemies. If you can stop the attack without creating permanent enemies, do so. Understood, sir. The communication ended. Hyan turned to his crew. Mean you, I want constant monitoring of those 3 species ships. The moment they move toward us, I want to know. Sora, prepare a formal diplomatic warning. Make it clear and simple. One warning, no second chances. What about me? Huna asked. You're going to help me with something that might save lives. Hun said we need to understand how these species think about warfare, their deities, their honor codes, their rituals. If we can predict how they'll attack, we can end the fight faster. Over the next 2 days, tension on the Indomitable grew. The crew moved through combat drills constantly. Weapons were checked and rechecked. Shields were tested at maximum capacity. Meanwhile, Yuna studied the 3 species, planning to test humanity. The Keltons worshipped a god of swift strikes. The Vrexen followed a deity of overwhelming force. The Telmir collective believed in coordinated pack tactics blessed by their goddess of unity. They'll come at us from 3 directions. Yuna predicted the Kelton will strike first, trying to disable our engines. The Vrexen will follow with heavy weapons. Fire to our shields. The Talmir ships will surround us and try to board. Classic tactics, Hun agreed. Their probably expecting us to turtle up, defend, and call for help. What are we actually going to do? Mino asked. Hyun smiled coldly. We're going to do what humans do best. We're going to break their expectations. The attack came on the third day. 3 keel and fast attack ships appeared on sensors, moving at high speed toward the Indomitable. Behind them, 2 Vrexen battle cruisers powered up their weapons. Further out, a formation of 7 Talmir vessels began their approach. Sara opened a channel to all attacking ships. Her message was broadcast clearly and in multiple languages. Attention Kelton, Vrexen, and Talmir vessels. This is the Earthship Indomitable. You are approaching an attack formation. We are tracking your weapons. We know your intent. You will have one opportunity to withdraw. If you continue your approach, we will defend ourselves. This is your only warning. There was no response from the alien ships. They continued their approach. They think we're bluffing, Minyu said quietly. Then we'll educate them. He unrelied. All crew battle stations. Minyu, target the lead Kellen ships. Engines, Yuna, calculate firing. Solutions for the Vexen cruiser shield. Generators, Lieutenant Hana, I want electronic warfare on the Talmir ships. Jam their communications with each other. Sir, shouldn't we wait for them to fire first? Hana asked. They're in attack formation with weapons hot. Hyun said that's enough. We gave our warning. They ignored it. Now they learn what that means. The Kelton ships entered weapon range. They began to fan out, preparing to make their coordinated strike. The Indomitable fired first. 3 precise shots fired in less than 2 seconds. The lead Kelton ship's engines exploded. The second ship took damage to its navigation system. The third ship's weapons array went offline. All 3 ships tumbled out of formation, disabled but intact. 14 seconds from warning to neutralization. Minyu reported, his voice showing surprise at their own efficiency. The Vrexen cruisers opened fire, their massive weapons hammering the Indomitable shields. The human ship rocked under the impact, but the shields held, returning fire. Yuna announced calmly, targeting shield generators as planned. The Indomitable's weapons were smaller than the Vexen guns, but they were far more precise. Instead of trying to overwhelm the enemy shields with brute force, the human ship targeted specific points. Shield generators overloaded, power systems failed. Within 30 seconds, both Frez and cruisers were defenseless. Do we finish them? Minyu asked. Negative. Yan ordered, target their engines only, disable and move on. 2 more shots. Both Vex and cruisers lost propulsion. They drifted in space, helpless but alive. Now the Talmir ships arrived, 7 vessels moving in perfect coordination. They surrounded the Indomitable, preparing to launch boarding parties. Electronic warfare active, Hana reported, jamming their communications. They can't coordinate anymore. Without the ability to work together, the Talmir ships became confused. They were designed to fight as a unit, with their goddess blessing their unity. Alone, each ship was uncertain how to proceed. The Indomitable didn't wait for them to figure it out. One by one, with cold efficiency, the human ship disabled each Talmir vessel. Engines destroyed, weapons offline, communications jammed, life support intact. 11 minutes after the attack began, 12 alien ships floated disabled in space. Not one had been destroyed, not one crew member had been killed, but all 12 were completely helpless, and the Indomitable hadn't taken significant damage. Hun opened a channel to all the disabled ships. This is Captain Hun of the Earth. Vessel Indomitable, your attack has failed. Your ships are disabled, but your crews are alive. We will now tow you back to Arcturus 7 station. Any attempt to resist will result in immediate destruction. You had your test, now you have your answer. He closed the channel and looked at his crew. Begin recovery operations and someone send a message to the council. Tell them we're bringing their ships home. The Indomitable approached Arcturus 7 with 12 disabled ships. Tow, the station sensors detected the fleet long before they arrived, and by the time Hun brought his ship into docking range, every platform in the Grand Assembly Hall was occupied. The council wanted answers. Captain Hun, Diplomat Sara, and Dr. Yuna walked into the assembly hall together. The atmosphere was tense. Angry voices filled the space. Some council members demanded that humans be expelled immediately. Others called for reparations. A few remained silent, watching the humans with calculating eyes. Calvin, the insectoid representative, stood on his platform. His mandibles clicked rapidly as he spoke. You attacked council vessels without provocation. You disabled 12 ships. You could have caused a war, could have, Hun said calmly, walking to the center of the hall, but didn't, and you know why. Because your ships attacked us first. We gave a clear warning. They ignored it. We defended ourselves. Defended, a Vexen representative roared. You destroyed our cruisers in seconds. That was not defense, that was aggression. Sara stepped forward. Your cruisers opened fire first. We simply responded more effectively, and I noticed that all your crews are alive and unharmed. If we were truly aggressive, would we have shown such restraint? A Kellen representative spoke, her voice cold. You disabled our ships faster than should be possible. Our gods teach us that swift strikes take time to coordinate. You struck with no coordination, no ritual, no divine blessing. How we practiced, Yun said. Simply, we trained, we drilled, we made plans for every possible scenario. When your ships attacked in exactly the pattern we predicted, we executed our response. No gods required, just preparation and skill. Scholar Telmos raised his glowing limbs. If I may ask a question without anger, Captain Hune, when you disabled those ships, you could have destroyed them completely. Why didn't you? Because destruction wasn't necessary, Yun replied. We achieved our objective, which was to stop the attack and protect our crew. Killing people who no longer threaten us would be wasteful and stupid, but your combat doctrine has no honor code. Telmos pressed, no divine rules. You said yourself that you fight without limits, so why limit yourself? Here, Hun was quiet for a moment, considering his words carefully. We fight without honor codes imposed by gods. That doesn't mean we fight without reason. Our objective was to survive the attack and demonstrate our capabilities. Both objectives were achieved. Further, violence would serve no purpose. You're saying you chose mercy. Calvin sounded skeptical. I'm saying we chose efficiency. Han corrected. Mercy implies we were being kind. We weren't. We were being practical. Dead enemies can't tell others what happened. Living enemies can return to the council and report exactly what humanity is capable of. That statement sent a ripple through the assembled species. Some looked even more disturbed, others nodded slowly. Beginning to understand, a voice came from the upper platforms. Then you used our own ships as messengers. You wanted us to see what you can do. Yes, Sora confirmed. You tested us, we answered. Now you know the truth. Humans fight without divine guidance. We don't have holy rituals or sacred honor codes. We simply identify threats and eliminate them as efficiently as possible. That makes us dangerous, yes, but it also makes us reliable. We don't waste time with ceremony when someone needs help. But how can we trust you? A Talmir representative called out. Your own God feared what you would become. You admitted this yourself. Without divine limits, what prevents humans from becoming conquerors? Yuna stepped forward to answer. The same thing that prevents you from becoming conquerors despite having divine guidance. Choice. We choose not to conquer. We choose to cooperate. We choose to be part of the galactic community. Our lack of a war deity doesn't change our ability to make these choices. But you already proved you'll kill anything that limits you. The Talmir representative argued. You killed your own God. What's to stop you from killing us if we try to limit human expansion? The fact that you're not gods, Yan said bluntly. We killed our deity because it tried to impose rules on how we survive. Not trying to do that, you're just trying to coexist with us. That's completely different. Admiral Taeyang and LT Unk and GT's image suddenly appeared on the central holographic display. The Earth military leader had joined the session remotely. If I may add something, Taeyang said, his voice carrying authority. The Council seems to believe that humanity's deicide makes us unpredictable and dangerous. You're right, we are dangerous, but we're dangerous to our enemies, not our allies. The species that tested us today learned that lesson. Their crews are alive because we chose to spare them, not because divine law forced us to show mercy. He looked directly at the Council members. Humanity spent thousands of years following divine rules about warfare, honor, glory, sacred combat. And we nearly destroyed ourselves following those rules. So we made a choice. We decided that survival matters more than divine approval. We became practical instead of sacred, efficient instead of glorious. And what happens? Calvin asked carefully. When human survival requires destroying other species, then we'll do what any species would do. Taeyang replied. We'll fight to survive, but here's what you're missing. We already survived our test. We fought wars that killed 100 million of us. We built weapons that could end all life on our planet, and we stopped. We didn't destroy ourselves. We learned control. Not because gods commanded it, but because we chose it. Self-imposed control can be removed, a voice argued. So can divine control, Sora countered. If your survival required disobeying your gods, would you obey or survive? Be honest. Silence fell across the hall. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. The question cut to the heart of the matter. Finally, Scholar Telmo spoke. I have studied many species across the galaxy. I have seen civilizations rise and fall. And I have noticed something interesting. Species with strong divine guidance tend to be stable but inflexible when they face challenges their gods didn't prepare them for. They often collapse. He turned his glowing spots toward the humans. Humanity is the opposite. You have no divine guidance in Warfare which makes you adaptable. Unpredictable, dangerous, yes, but also potentially valuable, a species that learns from experience rather than following eternal divine law might be exactly what the Council needs. You suggest we accept them despite the risk? Calvin asked. I suggest the risk might be worth the reward, Telmos replied. Consider what happened today. 12 ships attacked one human vessel. The human vessel won decisively in minutes, but instead of destroying those ships and starting a war, the humans disabled them and brought them home safely. That shows both capability and restraint. A Valkyrie representative spoke up. Our goddess teaches us to preserve life when possible. The humans did this without divine guidance. They chose to spare their enemies. Perhaps that choice is more meaningful than divine commandment. More council members began to speak, debating the issue. The conversation shifted from fear and anger to curiosity and analysis. Slowly, grudgingly, the council began to see humanity from a different perspective. Hours passed, votes were cast, species argued and negotiated and debated. Finally, the booming voice that controlled the assembly hall spoke. The council has reached a decision. The human delegation will approach the center. Hyen, Sora, and Yuna walked forward together. The eyes of 47 species watched them. The Galactic Council recognizes that humanity is unlike any species we have encountered. The voice announced. You have no divine guidance in warfare. You killed your own god when it could not adapt to your needs. You fight with efficiency rather than honor. This makes you dangerous. Yan felt his jaw tighten, preparing for rejection. However, the voice continued. You have also demonstrated control, practical thinking, and the ability to show restraint without divine commandment. After careful consideration, the Council has voted to grant humanity provisional membership. You will be assigned to Council defense operations where your unique approach to warfare can be properly utilized. Relief and pride swelled in Hyen's chest. Sora smiled. Yuna let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. There are conditions, the voice added. Human vessels will be monitored. For the first 5 standard years, you will submit to regular reviews of your military conduct, and you will provide training to Council forces on human combat tactics. We accept these conditions, Sora said. Formally, humanity is honored to join the Galactic Council. Then let it be recorded, the voice declared. On this day humanity joins the Council of Species. May their strength become our strength. May their adaptability become our advantage. May their survival instinct help us all survive. The assembly hall erupted in mixed reactions. Some species applauded or made equivalent gestures. Others remained silent, still uncertain. But the decision was made. As the humans left the hall, Calvin approached them. His mandibles clicked slowly, a sign of careful thought. I want to understand, he said quietly. You truly believe you're better off without your war deity? Yun considered the question. Not better, different. We lost something when we killed our god. We lost the comfort of divine approval, the certainty that we're fighting for a sacred purpose, but we gained something. 2. We gained the freedom to adapt.